Welcome to another edition of the 4th and 1 podcast. I'm Todd Palmer, host of the podcast, joined by Nick Jacobs. As always, we've got anchor Kevin Holmes and Gary Lezek's here, but I got a bone to pick with you about the 26-inch prediction you had, by the way. So we'll get to that later in the C block. But for now, we're going to talk a little Chiefs-Rams because I hear there's a pretty big game on tap Monday night, not in Mexico City anymore. The game's in Los Angeles. Pretty big game. But, Nick, as crazy as it has been trying to get, with the game moving and the L.A. wildfires and the Rams being in Colorado, and first Monday night game in the Coliseum since one day before the Royals won their first World Series title in 1985, one thing has dominated the headlines this week, and that's ketchup. So I need to ask you, the people need to know, what is the strangest thing you put ketchup on?
I put ketchup on my fries. Moving on.
Well,
is there a football game today?
What football game? No, but this is what the people are talking about. Do you put what's a weird food thing that you have, Gary?
It just fries go on ketchup.
Fries go on ketchup?
Yeah, I call it ketchup, but it's ketchup. I know.
Yeah.
So, but fries for me.
Nothing at all. I mean, I dip my fries in ranch.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's
cool.
kind of.
But ketchup's cool for fries too. That's about it. We had a debate not too long ago about ketchup on hot dogs. I say ketchup has no place on a hot dog, unless you're under the age of puberty.
Yeah.
Correct. I'm a mustard man. I allow my 10 and 4-year-old to put ketchup on a hot dog.
Did you guys ever used to drink the ketchup packets?
Oh yeah, I
in your
used to.
mouth?
See, I used to put fries in my mouth and then
No,
drink
because I'm not
Yeah.
disgusting.
I mean, that's like kids do that. It's like drinking.
No. What is wrong with you people?
And why are we saying all this? Because Patrick.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
Mahomes
Patrick
loves
Mahomes admitted in an ESPN article that he puts ketchup on his steak, and then under heavy fire from local media, he admitted to putting it in his macaroni and cheese, and it has spawned the Pat Mahomes challenge. There are people putting ketchup in their Cinnamon Toast Crunch and milk and then vomiting on Twitter right now. I'm not kidding you. This has really happened. Nick, obviously, Patrick Mahomes is not immune to the spotlight, as social media proved once again. I mean, we might get a Whataburger out of this deal. So I say,
That's the only thing that I'm going to take as a positive out of this whole
That's
thing.
what I'm saying.
If he gets a Whataburger here, that and a Super Bowl, that guy could get his own. He could get two statues, one on the Plaza
So
and one
which
at
is bigger?
Arrowhead.
What's a bigger task or bigger accomplishment? Whataburger or Super Bowl?
Whataburger.
Yeah, no, absolutely. like, look, man, there's a man in town who he just passed in the team record books last year who has brought a Super Bowl to this town before. There have been thousands of us trying to get a Whataburger here, and we have all failed. I don't care if he throws another touchdown. If that man gets Whataburger to come to Kansas City, we build the statue for that, and you can build it out of ketchup packets, Megan, if you want to.
Well, Heinz will probably pitch in. But here's the thing.
Heinz is dead to me.
Shouldn't it be Hunt's ketchup?
You would think with Clark and Kareem,
West,
but
Very good.
Westport, the Westport flea market.
yeah,
give us
Westport
free
Flea
burgers.
Market. Shout out Joe Terwilliger. Love you, Joe. Hope you listen to the podcast.
Yeah, I need friends that are famous.
I went there just a couple weeks ago. Love it.
I need to go with you, Gary. Can I get a free
No,
burger?
it's good. It's
Let's go
good.
to-
let's go to
Patrick
flea
Mahomes
market.
gets free, as if this.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like this guy could really use a break because he gets free burgers at Westport Flea Market now for life. But obviously, safe to say, this guy's he's always seemed very comfortable in the spotlight. So Nick, I want to ask you. What do you think? Do you think there's anything that can overwhelm this guy? I mean, we're going to play arguably the biggest game of the season for the Chiefs on the NFL schedule this year. 2 9-1 teams, best record in the AFC, best record in the NFC. And I don't think anybody's at all worried about this guy making his 12th career start, feeling like the moment's too big for him.
Well, and I think he hasn't got to that point yet to where there has been a moment or a minute that's been too big for him at this current venture in time. He may, I mean, we don't know privately what he goes through in terms of whether he's at a restaurant or whatever. And that article I thought that Seth Wickerson did for ESPN shed a really good light on the microscope he's under away from that football field and how he feels like he's being judged for just putting ketchup on a steak. And a lot of us hopefully don't have to go through that. And Yeah, I'm glad I'm not in his shoes when it comes to that. No, if I could throw a football like that and make that kind of money, I'd be happy in his shoes in that part.
Well, it's funny because it reminds me of Zach Greinke. I think from that standpoint, Mahomes is probably lucky to be in Kansas City because I remember, Zach Greinke, former Cy Young pitcher for the Royals, had some social awkwardness, we'll say. But being in Kansas City,
and he also didn't have a dad that kind of showed him the way.
Yeah, but my wider point was that Kansas City kind of found its balance with Zach Greinke, and even when they'd see him out on the plaza and stuff like that, would let him have his space if they knew that's what he needed. I don't know that other places, whether it's Kevin's hometown of Chicago or New York or LA, would be quite as accommodating. But it seems like Kansas City, there's a respect factor there. So Mahomes probably is in the right place for his career. I know fans love him. Let's hear what he had to say about his own primetime experience here.
Yeah, I got to play the Monday night game in the Broncos and then the Sunday night game with New England, and I've learned from those. And then we got to play the Bengals at home, and just being able to learn from those experiences, being able to control your emotions when you first start off the game. I mean, you don't want to try to do too much. I mean, that's the biggest thing about this whole season. You just try to get into all the playmakers that we have hands and let them make all the plays.
That was Patrick Mahomes talking about yet another primetime test. But, Gary, what's your reaction just to hearing the calm and the confidence from Patrick there?
He doesn't have any social awkwardness. He might be awkward in some beautiful ways when he's doing his dance moves or his touchdown dance.
His dance moves
part
are
of,
really
part of the Chiefs celebrations. But he just is, compared to Zach Greinke, he's not even close. Zach Greinke was socially awkward, had some problems, and he's worked through those, and he turned out to be a great player. We have something special. I mean, he's going to be wonderfully awkward, I guess, is what we could say, because he's just lovable.
No, yeah, exactly. I think it's endearing, like some of the, the way that he talks frankly about putting ketchup in his macaroni and cheese and stuff like that. But Kevin, is this game on Monday the biggest test for Patrick Mahomes so far? I know he's played in New England, and some other things like that.
Without question, this is the biggest test of his NFL career. I know it's only 12 starts in, and I think the kid is going to shine. I don't know if that'll result in a win.
It's a season-defining moment, I think.
It very much so. So get this, though. This late in the year, no two teams that have been top of the conference have played each other this late in the year.
9-1.
Right.
Yeah, that are 9-1.
I mean, this is a huge test and against a huge defense. I mean, that Bleacher Report cartoon that came out recently was hilarious, and it was on target, and it kind of knocked both defenses.
Yeah.
But
it's going to be an exciting moment. I
Donald?
said season-defining moment, but let's be realistic, guys. The season-defining moment's going to come when we get to the playoffs, and this game is very important because the Chiefs need to win this game just to make sure they have a chance.
Positioning is going to be important.
To even have a home field game.
I actually the Titans did the Chiefs a huge favor by beating the Patriots last week.
You got the Chargers.
So they've got some breathing room. Well, but we'll talk about that more. But the Chargers have a short week coming from the West Coast. I think the Chiefs have a lot of things working for them right there. But obviously, I think Mahomes going against that defense is going to be a big part of it. And let's hear from Sean McVay about what he sees in Patrick Mahomes so far this season.
I think what you're seeing is a great player, and really I've been so impressed with his ability to sustain, from the way that he started against the Chargers in week 1 and, going back to, how well he played against Arizona. You look at, the explosives, the ability to create on schedule. You can see, he's really recognizing coverage, eye manipulation, understanding where the ball should go based on the concept that Coach Reed's calling, and just clearly some of the throws. You think about on Monday night when they're playing Denver earlier in the season, he gets flushed to his left on a 3rd and long and throws all the way across his body to Kelsey. He's made some plays that you sit back and you can't help but just say, wow, what a great play. And they've got that consistently shows up on their tape with really their offense as a whole. And he's doing an excellent job leading. I think Coach Reed's system is sound, and he does an excellent job, calling plays and putting, those guys in good spots. And you see why they're, arguably the best offense or one of the best offenses in the league without a doubt.
I've got to think Sean McVay, that was the Rams coach there. As good as Jared Goff's been, a little bit jealous when he watches Patrick Mahomes on tape. However, I don't think he's all that jealous of the interior line of the Chiefs.
I'll say, especially the problem at center. How many centers has he played under?
This is the third.
Yeah, this is the third. But
that's amazing.
Yeah, for Mahomes, that Mahomes has still persevered despite playing under three centers. That relationship between the center and quarterback is paramount. Man.
Well, but I mean, I think he can get reps with whoever he needs whenever he needs it. He's Patrick Mahomes. He can put ketchup in his mac and cheese. But obviously, they gave up five sacks last week. And now they're going against Aaron Donald, highest paid defensive player in the history of the game, and Ndamukong Suh, who probably should have been a Heisman winner back when he was in college. That guy was dominant in Nebraska. He's had some social issues, I would say. He doesn't get along well with others necessarily, but he's also a dominant player. And then you got Michael Brockers thrown in there. I think people forget him. Is interior line the biggest concern you have going into Monday night, Nick?
Yeah, that and Todd Gurley are my two biggest. So in terms of interior line,
guys named Todd are always a threat, just so you know.
definitely.
That was good, Todd.
Definitely in NFL they are. So anyways, the interior offensive line, Cameron Irving, he's not stout against the point of attack, and Ryder had some struggles to where guys were able to beat him on his outside shoulder, and then Wiley had some troubles on some twists and stunts that I put on Twitter the other day. So when you look at all three of them combined, two of them are going to have to double team, another one's going to have to try to take them one-on-one. Aaron Donald's the one that can finesse even against the double team. Suh can overpower, and like you said, Suh's a mercenary. That's literally what people in the NFL call him, because he's just there to get a paycheck, do what he has to do, and if the team wins, great. If they don't, that's fine. As long as he collected his check, he's cool. So that's why he doesn't really have a lot of chemistry with pretty much any team he's on. So, collectively, I'm very concerned about this. I think they're going to have to move the pocket, and they're going to have to do some stuff to let Patrick get comfortable early, and hopefully that line can hold up, especially on the interior.
Not a lot of injuries to report this week, but Morse is out again, it looks like, with a concussion. Eric Berry, still day-to-day. Doesn't look like Monday is going to be his day.
No.
And then
it's going to hit 100 days once they hit the Monday Night Football game since he last practiced.
Yeah, well, and it might be another 100 before he practices again, unfortunately.
Is the Mexico City Stadium listed on your injury report?
Yeah, no, it is.
It needs to be.
Yeah.
Have you seen Eric Berry, Nick, walking around? Does he look like?
No, I personally haven't.
Okay.
No, but he's been on the sideline at some practice and stuff like that. The impression, there was the report from I think it was Ian.
Well, Mike Garoppolo from NFL Network is the one who originally reported what his injury was.
Yeah, it's basically a congenital deformity that is always, it's like a bone spur on his ankle that rubs against the Achilles, and it's not something that's going to go away. So at this point, it's about comfort level, pain tolerance, and obviously as of yet he hasn't decided to come back and practice. So that's going to be that's a bit of a downer that he's not out there. But we'll talk.
I don't know if I want this to be his first game back though.
Well, you
don't want this to be his first game.
You won't have to worry about it. He's going to need 3 full weeks of practice.
Yeah, any time he could come back, I think he'd be welcome back. But he's not. They're not going to just after not having practice for 100 days be like, hey, why don't you trot out here? And,
you're going to play Monday. Surprise!
Go tackle Todd Gurley. So like I said, I think the earliest he could come back at this point would probably be. I don't know what the game after San Diego.
I'm still thinking, middle September December. So.
Yeah, it'd probably be the last 2 games of the season at this point would be the earliest he could come back. But we'll talk more about that defense when we come back here on 4th and 1. Welcome back to 4th and 1. We're going to talk about defense here, but in a little bit different way to start off, because obviously one of the big talking points the first 2 months of the season, especially when the defense was struggling, had more to do with who wasn't here, whether it was Eric Berry, whether it was Justin Houston, who were injured, or whether it was Marcus Peters, who obviously was traded in the offseason. First of all, Kevin and Gary, when you see the struggles Marcus Peters has had, does that change your mind at all about the trade?
Not one bit. I think, first of all, everyone knows Marcus Peters was one of my favorite
Kevin,
Chiefs.
and this is the one thing Kevin and I agree on, which is shocking.
I think he was one of my favorite Chiefs players, and I think that this team is even better with Marcus Peters on it, this Chiefs ball club that is. Right. I think he's had a few games that show that he's a mere mortal, but it's still better than most. It's better than most DBs in the NFL still on his worst day.
I don't know. Based on if you trust Pro Football Focus at all, he's one of the worst 3.
Yeah, I read that. He's
one of the worst 3 corners in the league this year based on opposing quarterback rating.
He's having a bad year. He really is.
I don't know if it's a bad year, if it's just a few bad plays, but I think overall, I still would rather have Marcus Peters than said DB
Yeah.
I don't want to say any names.
Any
Wait,
other
Steven
DB on the-
Nelson.
on the
I mean,
Chiefs?
Kendall Fuller's been really, really good this year. So.
You know, he really has. He
You know.
really has. But can you imagine Fuller on one side and Peters on the other? Under a system that he's already used to?
Well, he was always
and
lazy.
I know he bumped
was
heads
lazy.
with
Let's be honest. Peters was a lazy player. He would only play every third down. He got a little bored.
That's youth and immaturity. That's expected for somebody 23, 24.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I still, you got to play the run in the modern NFL some too.
Yeah.
But Nick, what's your opinion on it? And what do you think the Chiefs are going to do? Who has the advantage? Because obviously Peters knows Reed's system fairly well, but Reed and the Chiefs also know Marcus Peters and his tendency to gamble very well. So who has the edge there?
Reed's going to have the edge by about 5 miles. And the reason
Wow.
that's going to happen is because Marcus likes the double move, or he likes to bite on the double move because Marcus is so aggressive and they play him off and soft 10 yards off the ball half the time. And they don't leave a safety over top for him like Bob Sutton and Andy Reid did. So he could take those chances and there was still somebody that would keep him from getting beat deep. Marcus gets beat on the double moves. And because of his ankle injury in week 3, as soon as somebody makes a sharp cut with a little shoulder fake and a head fake, he's already bid on that, and he can't explode through and be able to recover with that receiver. So normally, even some slow receivers have 3 steps on him and shouldn't, given his skill set. So Marcus is definitely struggling this year. They're not using him the same way, and they also use him in press coverage some, which he's not very good at because I remember rookie year when I was up at camp, he had this thing where he liked to hop, and then he would cross his feet as soon as they would get out of their break. So those 2 things slowed him down by a tenth to maybe half a second, and then at that point, receivers would normally buy him even whenever they were practice squad capable guys. So Chiefs did a good job managing what he could and couldn't do and bringing out his best skill set. Wade Phillips hasn't done that with the Rams. So that's you're seeing what happens when he's not properly managed in terms of his skill set. But I will say one thing that stuck out to me is if anybody gets a chance to see the SI article about Andy Reid's coaching tree, Matt Nagy said, we have a bunch of good human beings on our team. And I'm telling you, I swear by it, I think when you have good people on your team, when things are good, they never get too high. When things are bad, they never get too low. That's just the powerful. It multiplies, and guys know how to lead each other. That one struck out to me, and I kind of had a pretty good idea what Nagy was trying to say there.
Well, and
That's why the Bears are going to the playoffs. But we aren't talking about the Bears right now.
You're not talking about the Bears, but Matt Nagy's talking about what he learned from Andy Reid as a
Yeah, I
coach.
get it. I'm teased. I get it.
I mean,
It is very powerful, though, and it speaks volumes, I think.
So,
You know,
whenever you have a lot of positive influences in your locker room, you go to 9-1. When you have some negative influences, they get shipped out.
and here's the thing. I don't think Marcus Peters is a bad person. I think he's an elite cover corner. I don't think he's very physical. I think he was limited in how you could use him, as Nick was
yeah,
talking
certainly.
about. But let's hear from Marcus Peters on what he thinks about this upcoming matchup with his former team. First time in his career he's going to get to have that honor.
We playing football against the Kansas City Chiefs, and just another football game we got to play against.
When you think back on your 3 years there, what kind of comes to mind? Were they good years, bad years for you?
I had fun. I started off an amazing chance to be able to play football in the NFL. I enjoyed it.
Were you
Patrick Mahomes coming last year when you saw him?
Yeah. He's an excellent player. That's why they took him where they took him at. It wouldn't have traded up with them having Alex at the time. So, yeah.
How much is your familiarity with him kind of help you guys game plan or know what's coming?
I mean, when I was practicing against him, he was a practice squad quarterback that was just drafted first round, you know. But like I say, I seen all the tools that he had that you guys are seeing right now in practice all year last year. So, like I say, you respect the young man for what he's doing in his league right now, and we go play football.
will it be difficult to kind of keep your emotions in check?
No. I'm really going to be excited to see Emmett Thomas, Al Harris, the rest of the DB group, a few other players like Justin Houston and stuff like that. I hope EB make the trip. But nah, man, it's football, bro.
I'm not buying for a second that Marcus Peters hasn't had this game circled on his calendar since the day he was traded. I'm not buying for a second. This is just another football game. It's also telling. You heard Marcus Peters mention wanting to see Emmett Thomas. Marcus Peters is excited to see Al Harris. I didn't hear Bob Sutton mention, which
I don't think that was by coincidence either.
might have been. I don't know. Read into that what you will, folks. But I think people who knew that the minute that Bob Sutton was coming back, that meant Marcus Peters was not this year. But let's move on and let's talk a little bit more about this matchup with the Rams. And obviously, Cooper Kupp tears his ACL last week. Josh Reynolds stepping in, but he's not really the guy who makes this team go, okay? And obviously the Chiefs have had to deal with Sammy Watkins. He's had a foot injury, limited a bit in practice, but he's expected to play. But which offense do you think is better, Kevin and Gary?
If I'm putting them both up on the wall and I'm looking at them side by side, I have got to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the Chiefs have the better offense, more firepower. But here's the problem, though. I feel as if matching up against the defense could be a concern. I feel as if in this game, the Rams may have a slight edge when it comes to offense because they're facing a defense that has more holes in it than the Chiefs are.
And I think that the first time we did a podcast earlier in the season, when I did that with you guys, I talked about how Goff and Mahomes are the future of the NFL. And I really believe we're looking at the future of the NFL. Maybe these two guys are going to lead their teams to other challenges against each other. Maybe in Super Bowls, we'll see.
There's a number 10 as well in the NFC North.
Yeah,
okay.
So Goff is very good. He's a very good quarterback, and so how good is he? I mean, I put him just a step below Patrick Mahomes, which is amazing.
Well, really, I think he's more of a system quarterback. I think he's a creation of Sean McVay more than he is like.
Okay.
I'm not sure what Jared
hope
Goff
you're right.
is if you take him away from Sean McVay. I don't think I see more Blaine Gabbert than I do Patrick Mahomes.
Wow.
If you take him away from Sean McVay.
Some people would argue Mahomes isn't Mahomes without Andy Reid, but they are 1-2 right now in passing yards in the NFL. 1-2.
Yeah. Well, but all right, let's talk about Nick real quick. I mean, we've seen what this offense can do, and Kevin just mentioned that Goff is one of the top, might lead the league in passing yards this year, but he's not what makes this offense go, is he?
No, he does not. He does not stir that drink the way that his running back.
Is it a guy named Todd that stirs the drink?
Yeah, but this Todd's got 2 D's. He doesn't have one.
Well,
Last name starts with a G.
It's not my fault he can't spell the name properly.
Yeah, Todd Gurley is especially against the Chiefs. It's going to be emphasized here that the Chiefs are going to struggle stopping the run. They do against most teams, let alone somebody of Todd Gurley's caliber. So the Rams interior, they're going to double team them. They're going to run all over them. And if Gurley doesn't have 150, 200, I'd be surprised. So that's the way they keep the Chiefs offense off the field is by having Gurley out there run the ball and eat up the clock. So I think Bob Sutton and them got one heck of a task against them with Todd Gurley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially I'm just, they get him outside in the flats a lot in the passing game, so that's a tough matchup with the linebackers. But I'm having the visions I'm having are of Todd Gurley just running right between the tackles and then getting into space one-on-one with a linebacker safety at the second, third level, making one cut, and the Chiefs will have a hard time stopping him at that point. They've got to figure out what they're going to do from that standpoint. All right, one other thing. I mean, look, I think there's so much focus on Mahomes. There's so much focus on ketchup. We tend to forget that the Chiefs have only allowed 17 points a game the last few weeks, all right? They only gave up 10 against Cincinnati. They gave up 23 against Denver. They gave up 21 at Cleveland, and they gave up, 14 last week against Arizona. So they're giving up 17 points a game the last 4 weeks. Of course, Cincinnati, Denver, Cleveland, Arizona aren't exactly a murderer's row of defenses.
Exactly.
Is this a mirage, what we've seen the last 4 weeks from the defense, or is this a sign, Kevin and Gary, that they've turned a corner?
I think the defense is improving. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
They couldn't go backwards.
You can't fall off the floor, right? You really can't fall off the floor. But here's the deal. I think just like Mahomes, this is his biggest test. This is the biggest test to date for the defense this year.
Yeah, if you look at last week, one of the biggest moments of the game, it's 20-14. Arizona has a chance of pulling an upset against the Kansas City Chiefs at home at Arrowhead. And
Arizona,
amazing. And Justin Houston comes through with a big defensive play. I mean, that defensive play shows the talent, the intelligence, the experience of Justin Houston. He that was a really good defining moment in that game that made a difference. So the Chiefs are going to need some difference-making plays like that.
Let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you something. That Todd Gurley is a bad man. I've been following him since high school. He's been wrecking crews since then.
But here's what gives me hope. Like, everybody talks about Chris Jones and the 7 pressures or D Ford and the sacks and everything last week. If you go back and actually watch that Cardinals film, Justin Houston not only made made the interception on that, but he probably saved a touchdown on another screen pass when he recognized it early and got out. They had the screen set up perfectly, and there was nothing but wide open space for David Johnson. But Houston read it, reacted, and got out and made the play. He didn't have a lot of pressures or sacks or anything like that, but I thought Justin Houston made a difference.
He did.
Can he make a difference going forward? And what do you expect to see from this matchup? And what can we talked about the vulnerabilities the Chiefs have on defense, but what are some things that you think that they are good enough to exploit to disrupt this Rams offense?
The only thing that you can do against the Rams offense is to attack their left tackle, Andrew Whitworth, and their left guard, Roger Saffold. Those two are not very good in pass protection. Andrew Whitworth, he's about 35, 36. You can beat him with an edge rush, so D Ford should have him pretty well. If you put D and Houston together on that side and run some twist, the left guard and left tackle cannot pass it up, and with his lack of speed, you can get around the corner and you can bull rush that guard back into Goff. And then if you put him in wide nines and wide three techs and then collapse the pocket in on him, Goff gets nervous and one of them ends up beating somebody of that offensive line. So that's the way you're going to stop that Rams team. So the Chiefs pass rush, what they did last week, they have to do that again this week in the same intensity and same rotation of bringing a pass rush rotation where they had Breland Speaks, Tano Passanio. You bring everybody in, keep everybody fresh, and you go after them pretty hard.
Yeah, you talk about the wide nine technique. It looked like they were testing that out against the Cardinals by splitting D Ford way out wide, and he had a lot of success doing that. Let's hear from Jared Goff, though, about what he sees from this Chiefs defense as far as if they've gotten better and expectations for Monday night.
This one's short.
They're good up front, really good up front with the two rush ends, and what they can do in the secondary to match that. It's really good and give us some issues, but we got a plan we're putting together, starting today and through the week.
It'll be interesting to see, and we'll talk a little bit more about this when we come back from break. But how the Rams are going to attack this Chiefs defense will be very interesting to see. We'll be right back on 4th and 1. Welcome back to 4th and 1. And as we left, we were talking about how are the Rams going to attack. Obviously, Sean McVay getting a lot of credit for his play calling and his genius and all that this week. But McVay's source of inspiration isn't that hard to figure out. He basically admitted, I like to watch Andy Reid play, and I steal stuff that I see.
Coaching staff as a whole, a fan of the game, and there's so much good tape, and with the ability to easily access it week in and week out, it'd be silly for us not to be able to look and see what the heck they're doing. And every single week they do something, they say that's pretty good, and guys are making great plays. And I'd be lying if I said we haven't stolen some of their stuff this year. So they do a great job.
Kevin and Gary, who's got the edge there between the old man and Andy Reid, who's been doing this for a long time, and the young pup, the John Gruden disciple, and Sean McVay?
I think Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes have the edge here. We've been seeing it all season long. They've made adjustments, and Patrick Mahomes improvises, and I think there's an advantage Chiefs there. What do you guys think?
I agree with you there. I do, but have we ever seen a team, and maybe you all can tell me this, Nick, especially, have you ever seen a team that really has lined up like they line up? I only watched L.A. like maybe once or twice this season so far, but a lot of bunch formations, a lot of trips left. It's like as if they're telling you, we're going to work this side of the field, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, they basically run everything out of 11 personnel, one running back, one tight end.
Yeah, and they're doing it because their wide receivers outside of Cooks can't get separation on their own. So you run bunches when you can't get separation, unlike the Chiefs who space everybody out because the guy just track stars. So that's why.
I think you have to give the play calling edge to Andy Reid right now. He's been in the game much longer, and you can see how it's working. He knows how to use his personnel on offense, unlike anything I've ever seen.
All right.
I'm just curious, is he going to plagiarize some of the plays while they're happening during the game? So is he going to see something that he thought was really neat there, and he's going to be sitting there with his little iPad on the sidelines watching it and then drawing it up to run in the fourth quarter?
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
And he is there's a bit of a Rain Man quality to McVay. Like, you can ask him about, like, 3rd and 8, third quarter, 7 minutes to go in a game 3 years ago, and he has this incredible recall. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think it'll be fun. That'll be kind of the game within the game. The play calling will be fun to watch. Real quick, obviously want to acknowledge the deadliest forest fires in California history going on out there. Tragic situation. We wish everyone the best. And then, Gary, I mean, that kind of impacts the forecast, doesn't it? Because it's going to impact the air quality pretty substantially on Monday.
Well, there's a little system coming towards California, and it causes an onshore flow. So that means the flow will be coming in from the coast and not from the fires. So there should be very little, if any, smoke circulating towards the stadium, Coliseum. So I'm not expecting that to be a big factor. The weather looks absolutely ideal for the game.
That's good to know because, I mean, the edge of the fires are literally 10 miles from the stadium. So it's not terribly far. Hopefully the wind stays in that direction.
Yep, it's going. It looks like an onshore flow, not an offshore flow, and not a west flow that would sort of blow to. It'd be southwest flow. So I think they're okay.
That's good. So Southern California might get a reprieve. Will the Chiefs
It needs
though?
to rain. Or is what needs to happen. It needs to rain. So
Will the Chiefs get a reprieve though, or are they going to fall to 9-2 on the season?
no, the Chiefs are going to. It's going to be tough.
We taking predictions already?
Yeah. Oh, we're there, man.
is
This
the
is
final
season,
segment.
baby. We are.
I know. You can start analyzing yours. Get yours ready, Kevin. I'll give you mine.
Oh, I'm
first.
ready.
I'm thinking they're going to go to 10-1. I have to be optimistic here. It's on Monday Night Football. As we just saw, there's no spotlight too big for Patrick Mahomes or Andy Reid. So I just think that this is 9-1 versus 9-1. It's the game of the season, the game of the year for the NFL. I say season-defining moment. Really, the playoffs are going to be more of that. But if the Chiefs pull this victory off, they will be the Super Bowl favorite. So that's why there's a lot on the line. If you want to be the Super Bowl favorite, then I do.
I don't know. The Saints are still lingering out there.
Well,
so.
the Chiefs,
Vegas has this at the Super Bowl right now. That's most likely to be the Super Bowl.
if the Chiefs win,
Depends on the book.
If the
some
Chiefs
place
win,
had the Saints higher.
Right.
Yeah, but if the Chiefs win, they will be the Super Bowl favorite. They'll get all the hype, and so there's a lot on the line here. So I'm going to predict the Rams are only going to score 24 points.
Wow.
And the Chiefs win 37-24 in L.A.
All right.
37-24. They're
In
winning
LA.
by 13 in
Yeah,
LA.
sure. Why not? Why not?
Okay, now let me bring
These kinds
things
of
back
things
down.
happen.
Let me bring
He's
things back
taking
down.
the under. That's a bold
Let me
move.
bring
Under
things back down to
63.
reality.
Let's hear
Dose
it.
reality. Both teams are averaging about almost 7 yards per play, right? Both teams are high-power offenses. You got
Right.
Mahomes number 1 in passing yards, Goff number 2. It's going to be explosive. I think both teams will score in the 40s.
They may,
But here are the two things I see.
All right.
I think that LA's matchup on offense against our defense is a better matchup than our offense against their defense, if that makes any sense. And then because of that, 47-41 Rams.
That's a lot of
And the home field advantage.
So
Well, thanks for becoming the most hated man in Kansas City, Kevin Holmes. Nick, I know that your favorite thing to do every week is when I put you on the spot and make you predict things. So please,
It's almost as much as I love hearing about ketchup right now.
please, can you? Oh, see, you ruined it. I was going to say, can you catch the fine folks up on what they really need to know about the outcome of this
Stop
game?
hot dogging it.
Come on. Anyways, so I don't think the Chiefs.
The Chiefs may or may not win.
Pick the Chiefs, Nick. Come on.
I don't
We
think,
love you, Mick.
I don't think the Chiefs' interior offensive line is going to be able to stop Donald and Sue.
Okay.
And I don't see Bob Sutton having an answer for Todd Gurley this year or 3 years later from now, even when he's watched that tape 20 times. So I've got the Rams end up winning this one. I'm going to put them 41-38 just off a field goal because there's going to be enough to where the Chiefs will always be close, but they're always not going to be able to get over those two parts of the game.
If it were a neutral site in a Super Bowl, what would you predict?
I would
Same
still
thing?
pick same thing.
Wow.
Now, if you take Bob Sutton out of the equation, they win.
Okay.
All right. Well, that brings up two very important questions, I think. One, how do you feel about ketchup on your butterscotch? And
It's great.
yeah. There you go. Hashtag Pat Mahomes challenge. And two, I mean, if what does that say about the Chiefs' hopes moving forward this year? If we don't think that they can beat a team like this, you know what? I'm also of the opinion though with Nick that I and you, Kevin, that I just think. The defense for the Rams is a little bit better than the defense for the Chiefs. I'm going to need them to prove it against somebody who's a decent offense before I'm going to start drinking the Chiefs Kool-Aid.
Exactly.
So I'm going to go ahead and predict Rams 58.
Wow.
Chiefs Heinz 57.
Wow.
I had to pick.
Whatever.
Right on.
I had to pick 58 for the joke to work.
Okay, that's fine. Now, you guys, the last time you all three predicted the Chiefs to lose, you guys were wrong. So
That was against Jacksonville, right? I believe.
No, I took them to beat Jacksonville.
You okay?
Yeah.
Well,
The
they-
only other
love-
game I
I love-
predicted them to lose this year
Yeah.
was the opener against the Chargers.
I love to be wrong about the Chiefs losing. That's my
You know,
favorite.
I hope I'm wrong too. I just think I think home field advantage and the questions on defense for the Chiefs are what's going to do us in.
all right.
All right. Well, for Todd Palmer and in honor of Dustin Colquitt,
Oy.
hey, tradition is tradition, Kevin. If you don't like it, get out.
Speaking of, did you see him on the mic'd up segment with Patrick Mahomes?
I did. So
I don't know if I can technically play it since we don't have the rights to it, but he told Patrick how much he appreciated letting him punt that day.
Wow.
He's like, but I'm fine now. I did a couple. You're good, man.
He's had a game or two where he had. I know the New England game that he didn't punt. He didn't see the field, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, he still sees the field because he's the
Well,
whole.
you know
he's the
what
holder. He's the holder.
Well,
of the field goal
yeah. Tis true, my friend.
So he still gets to play in those games, man. All right, guys. Hey, we hope you enjoyed it. We hope you enjoy the Monday night game even more, and we will we'll hear from you next, or we'll talk to you next on Tuesday after what we hope is a Chiefs victory that has Nick eating crow covered in ketchup. No.
Please don't. I hope this catches.
Let's get to 10-1, guys.
Yeah. All right. Take care, guys.